Okay, well, hey everyone, welcome to Hello with Hannah. Today I am incredibly excited because my dear friend Bede is here with us, and we're going to talk about all things creativity, music, production, life. I'm trying to think of something else to say, but it's going to
All
be
the
good.
things.
All the things. Bede, hi, how are you?
Hello. I'm so good. I love this hello with Hannah.
Yeah,
It's the
here we
best.
are. It's so
Here we
good.
are.
I can't tell you how happy I am to have you on the fourth episode ever. This is like
It's the best.
history in the making, you
I
know?
know, number four. I feel like so
Yeah.
privileged.
Yeah, it's
It's
good.
so exciting.
Okay, so we'll just jump right into it. But for those who don't know you, obviously, I want to give people a little bit of context today on who you are. But we've known each other for a long time. We have written music together before. We spent a lot of years in church together. And, I think there's so much about you that I am excited for people to hear about today in terms of like your story as a creative and how you've been really clear from the very beginning about what you wanted to do. That's one thing I think of with you, like from way back, like 10, 15 years ago. If someone would say to you, what do you want to do? You're always like, I just want to write songs and I want to make music, which is really, really cool. But can you tell people a little bit about your story? I forgot to add that you're also a husband and a dad of two,
Yes.
which is the
It's the
best part.
best.
But
My two
can you?
gals. My three gals, let's
Yes,
be honest. They're
yes,
magic.
the best girls. But can you tell everyone just a little bit about your story in life and I guess creatively as well?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm from Australia, from Sydney. The best. That's where Hannah and I met. It's just the dream. Is it seriously 15 years ago? Probably.
I would say so, yeah, at
Oh my
least.
goodness.
Oh no, yeah, definitely 15 years ago.
That's so crazy.
Yeah,
I feel old. Anyway,
yeah, same.
um, so yeah, I grew up in Sydney, and as Han said, we like did church together. Virtually, I started writing songs. Probably, I'm trying to think of when I would have been, but like when I was around that, like 15, 16, 17. And I grew up playing drums in church, and so everyone was like, "Do you just write the drums?" Um, and one of the first songs I ever like really finished kind of came out on the first Hillsong Young and Free album, and that was kind of just this like mind-blowing little moment. And so it was just this like musical, I was just so excited to be like, I was like, people make music and that's just what they do. And so
Yeah,
that was kind of like, but it just felt like it was this thing that happened, and then everything kind of just like paused for a second. It felt like it paused. And so it was just, I think just I spent so long just being like, this is what I want to do, but it was kind of just saying it. I wasn't like, I was kind of just, I'd write by myself in like my bedroom or on my piano, and the people in my apartment block liked it, and that's about it. But and yeah, I don't know, I feel like I just did that for, it felt like so long
yeah,
when it was happening. And it was, I never really, I think there was a part of me that was like, I always talk to Izzy, my wife, about it, and she's like, you didn't really have a plan. And so I look back and I'm like, I had no idea how I always just said it like, I just want to make music, that's all I want to do.
yeah,
But I never really had a plan. Like I worked at restaurants and cafes and stuff like that. But I think the big thing for me was like moving to the States, and that it was
yeah,
such a hard transition to leave home and all my family and so many of my friends. But that journey, like for me, was like transformational. Kind of getting to move, and you kind of get a fresh start. Like I was saying before, like not everyone, but a lot of people would see me as like a drummer because I
yeah,
grew up that way, and I got to leave and kind of I came to Nashville, so that is like such a musical place. But I think that transition, I moved here, didn't tell anyone I played drums. People thought I played keys, like that was and I just never
yeah,
told anybody. And so I think that for me was really helped. I don't know, like that kind of transitional. And it was just like I'm a songwriter,
yeah.
which is
It's
just
like
so
I was
fun.
just. How do you like? How much of a role or a part does that play? Like in terms of people's perception of
It's
you?
everything.
When we were kind of younger, um, I absolutely remember you. Like the first time I saw you, you were playing drums. But like, if you're kind of shooting in a different or a slightly different direction in terms of you want to make music, you want to write music, produce, how do you shake off that perception people have of you and stay strong in what you want? Like, does it require literally moving or like stepping out of your comfort zone? I don't know. I'm just wondering your feelings on that.
I don't know if it requires it. There's definitely a part of that at least for me really helped. I think even just being able to say, like, I still remember flying to America as flying home the first time after being in the States, and I wrote and I don't even think at that time I was like, that was my job, but I wrote on my, like, what is it, the immigration thing that asks you your occupation, I wrote songwriter, and I was like, I really like this.
Yes.
But I think that, like, being able to just tell people, I write songs, and they believe you, where that transition was really helpful.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but it's hard, like, that changing that perception. I still think there's people in Australia who think I just have moved here and I play drums.
I'm sure.
Convinced. Yeah. And so, which it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But I think that, but it helps. I think the biggest thing though that has changed, at least I've been here for 5 years now.
Yeah.
And the transition of, like, I didn't tell anyone I played drums. And then realizing that that's actually like a bit of a superpower, like having a thing that not many other people do, like whatever the thing that most people do. If you're really good at something, most people aren't really good at something, especially, I don't know, like if you're an awesome piano player and you sit down at a guitar, there's just this like little, you just know you have this little like superpower that if you sat down at the piano, there's just like another level of magic that happens.
Yes.
So I think that even now everyone knows that I play drums, and it's like it's a fun. There's just like another tool in the tool belt.
Absolutely.
I spent way longer on than anything else, but
yeah, it's such a cool like additional kind of weapon to use when making music.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so people need to know, like, you've written for a ton of people. Obviously, like I think you mentioned before, End of Days, and I mean Every Little Thing with Young and Free. But you've written with Chris McClarney. I mean Rita Springer. She needs a mention every time. Midnight. What a song!
Time.
Huge.
One of my favorite songs.
A lot of stuff with like Patrick Mabry. He's amazing.
Best.
Passion. Like you guys have done a lot together. Kim Walker-Smith, another favorite. Always worth a mention.
Queen.
Ellie Limebear, you know, so many people, the Newsboys. So like, it's so cool. I just love reading through all this and seeing like these amazing songs that you've been a part of. Can you talk a little bit about like the first time you signed a publishing deal and like what that was like and that whole experience, and maybe even like where is that at now?
Yeah. It was, so I kind of, I guess, signed like some kind of a pub deal early on, but it was kind of just to like upkeep the songs that were being written. And so moving to Nashville, it was honestly such a big shock. It was like, it was just so fun. I got to sign with Capitol here, CMG, and it was just amazing. It kind of, I realized that like having like a pub deal that was kind of this like to be a staff writer of, you have a team that like kind of are working for and on behalf of you, getting you into rooms and stuff like that. That was just so exciting. I don't know. And so they were kind of going to bat for me, being like, hey, BEDE should be in that room. Yeah. And so it was kind of that I got to kind of step back from any of the hustle side of things. And so that was like, that's been just such a cool thing. I don't know. And so I was at Capitol for 5 years, and then I just signed with Tim Publishing. And so good. Yeah, which is so exciting. It's kind of a new publishing company, but it's just been so fun. Kind of, yeah.
What do you value most about like these kind of teams of people that you partner with? Like, what do you appreciate, you know, about those kind of relationships?
I think the thing that has kind of blown me away in the last few months at Tim has just been the like love of songs.
Mm-hmm.
I think that just seeing guys who've been in the industry for, I don't know how long, honestly, like longer than we've been alive.
Yeah.
And they'll ask you about a song and they've just got this wonder in their eyes, this like little childhood, like, tell me about it. And it's just that, realizing that you don't have to lose that in industry or the politics, because I feel like my head races all the time and I get lost in things, and I'm like, no. Like, the whole thing is built on songs.
Yes.
And I think that is like, it's just so inspiring to me. Like, don't lose that little bit of awe and wonder. I still remember writing that first one, End of Days, with my head the wrong way on my bed growing up, and I just had a guitar, and it was like probably 2 a.m. and it was just that thing of being like, what's this magical thing I just stumbled upon?
Yes.
Like, I can still do that every day. And I think that kind of like awe and wonder, oh my gosh, it's magic.
It's so good. Hey, I talk about this a lot, but I feel like the role that like friends and partnerships like that play in our lives as creative is just so huge and hard to even measure. It's like, even just to have a coffee with someone who's like deeply passionate about songs, or I feel like anytime we spend time together, it's the same thing, because we have that common like passion. It's like we could just talk for hours about songs we love, songs that, you know, different writing experiences and stuff. And I think finding those people and those relationships, like a publishing team that, you know, is equally, if not more, excited about the work, is such a gift.
That's the funnest thing. Honestly, moving here, like kind of being here, was such a and obviously just a culture thing and very much this city, but it was such a shifting thing. Like, I moved here and everyone was so encouraging. And it's not like anyone was discouraging in Sydney, but that like shift of it doesn't feel like the pie, there's this piece of pie and we all get this like little slip. It was just this excitement of like, we can all like do great, and it's all exciting. So it was like, you would come to town and I'd be like, "Han, listen to this song." And it's like, you get to talk to your friends about songs and they write songs too, and everyone's just excited about the exciting songs and learning to change. I realized it one time when someone from Sydney was in town, and I was recording their voice on a song that we had just written. Yeah. And I was like being sarcastic. I was having this like, "Oh, you sound horrible." Yeah. And this is how we all had always spoken, and it was like a thing. And I was like, I don't talk like that with anyone else. Like, why am I doing that? And I had this default, and I realized halfway through, I was like, "Hey, bro, you actually sound amazing." Yeah. And he just looked at me. He's like, "Oh, thank you." And the weird thing, like, he sung better after that. Yeah. It was this like, but it was this shift of being encouraging to people in like my sphere, and I think that's just been such a fun realizing that we can all have the best time doing this.
I actually feel that in the air anytime I'm in Nashville, basically, which is like, you get this sense of there's such belief and encouragement, and it feels authentic. And I don't know what that is. Maybe this is too specific for the conversation, but like it's probably an Australian thing, or at all. We've obviously got a culture as Australians of like sarcasm, and if you love someone, you kind of sledge them, which doesn't make total sense. But and then the whole tall poppy syndrome thing. Yeah. But I find if I meet someone here in Australia, like in a coffee shop or whatever, and they say, "What do you do?" And I say, "Oh, I write songs." They go, "Oh," and it's like a big deal because it's not very common. Like, "Oh, wow, that's so interesting." Like, whereas if I'm in somewhere like Nashville and you say you write songs, everyone's like, "Yeah." It's just expected. Yeah. And I think something about that culture of just like so many musicians, so many creative people, so many people working in music. It kind of just makes you go, "Oh, this is normal, and let's press on," you know? It's very cool.
It's so cool. And I think that, I feel like that can be created anywhere though. Because really, if music wins, we all win. Yes. And so it's the like, if one of your friends writes a great song, even though it doesn't like affect you in any way, it does. If it's good for the community, it's good for everyone. I think I remember I came back to, I can't remember the last time I was in Sydney, probably last year, and just talking to writers and just being encouraging. And it was such an interesting, people would just be, oh, thank you so much. And I think that, I don't know, I think it can be anywhere. I think it's just kind of ingrained here.
Yes.
And so it's interesting.
It's very cool. So like, hopefully there are people listening in who, like, again, I talk on this a fair bit, but like, who have dreams to make music or to create. And you talked about like those years, which felt like a very long time for you, where you're just writing by yourself and, you know, just kind of working other jobs to make that happen, which also, I just want to say on the side, I'm a big believer in having a job.
Oh,
so like, I see a lot of like younger creatives going like, I've quit my job and I'm just going to write until it happens. And I'm like, you can totally do both. Like some of the best songs that I was ever a part of, especially as a younger songwriter, they were like, I had a full-time job and at night we would go into the studio, especially before kids. Now I'm asleep at 8 o'clock, but at night you'd go and you'd write and you make it happen. I think I would encourage people on just working and having a job and having some kind of stable financial income and still creating. But yeah, so all that to say, oh, sorry, you go.
Honestly, that can really help. Like, especially early years, that you've got instincts in you that aren't fully developed yet. Yeah. And I think working on those instincts, because your the second you step away from an idea or something like that, your subconscious is trying to solve problems. So it's like, oh, the melody is really cool, but it doesn't connect. This doesn't connect. Or this production piece is really cool. How can I do something in the chorus? If you haven't figured that out, you step away, your subconscious is working on it. And
Absolutely.
So it actually can be really beneficial. I find sometimes that I need to leave the studio and go for a drive or something, and like my subconscious will solve the problem for me. And so having it's actually quite helpful. I feel like so many of my little like melody ideas or lyric things or what like pieces like that came when I was at work. When I was just mindlessly doing something else or just talking to a customer or whatever it was. I think there's so much value in that. I talk to so many people who that's their full-time job is making music, and they're like, I think I want to just like work at a cafe a couple of days a week. Yeah. Just to have that detachment. So I think like there's so much value in the days when you can do that. It's interesting.
I totally agree. But yeah, so there's people hopefully listening in who have the dream of like, you know, they're clear on it. Like what I said about you is it always felt like to me years ago that you were really clear that's what you wanted to do, but perhaps they're in that season of like writing a lot by themselves and there's not a lot to like a lot to say, hey, this is actually what I do. And then like you transitioning to writing it down on the immigration form, like songwriter, and then actually believing it and then stepping into it. Like, is there like an encouragement you might have for those people who are in that stage a few steps back for you now? Like, what would you encourage them with, or what would you want to kind of say to them?
I feel like I don't know, so many things. I feel like the biggest thing is that every song, every little thing counts. So all the like little moments that you get to sit down at the piano for 20 minutes or whatever it is, they all count toward the songs that you'll write someday. And the songs that you're writing today. Everything, all of that stuff matters. You don't I didn't produce until I moved here. And I didn't really until a few years after I moved here, because I just made so many demos. And it was like, and I think that the more you do something, the better you'll get at it. So don't despise like kind of that small beginning. Let it kind of be what it is. Get excited about when you get to sit down. Like, I think those are the moments. If one of your friends starts writing something, whatever it is, get excited about those opportunities, because all of them are built, like, you're writing a great song today and it'll help you write one tomorrow. So I think that, but also to speak it into existence. I'm the biggest like proponent for like just go for it. Just say, oh yeah, I'm a songwriter.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think it's the best. Put songs out. Like I tell so many people that music out is better than music in. And it's like, I just think, obviously do it the best you can, all of those things. But I think having music out, having stuff for people to hear, just the best. I don't know.
It's so good. Yeah, that's really great. I think I remember really starting to like grasp this idea a few years ago, but like to not despise even bad ideas and stuff that like so often I've experienced now, like an idea that's so average leading to something that feels incredibly special. And to not be so judgmental of that first thing that comes. So like if I'm in a co-write now, I'm quite happy to be the first person to go like, what if we do this? Knowing that it's probably not that good, but if that's the thing that gets momentum and gets things rolling, then it all, like what you're saying, it all plays a valuable part in the bigger picture of where you're trying to shoot towards.
And sometimes you'll never, the really cool idea comes because you walked across these weird bridges or these average bridges, and all of a sudden you put these two little things together and you're like, oh my gosh, this was a horrible idea and now it's awesome. I think there's such value in that. I love that. Yeah.
Okay, well, before we finish, I just was wondering, is there any like projects and things that you've been working on that you're excited about? I know we have one mutual friend who has a project coming out we're particularly pumped about, but yeah, tell me like anything that you have kind of coming out in the next few months that you feel particularly pumped about.
Yeah, I mean the one that we're talking about, Anna Golden's album is just going to be unreal. It's called Church. I think it's out next month. I don't know when this is coming out, but it's soon. August like 12th, I think it is. That album is, I'm so excited about that. Her and I produced it together, wrote a bunch of the songs together. I'm so excited about that album.
Me too. I'm incredibly excited about the album. I feel like I was there, even though I wasn't there.
It feels like you were.
Yeah. So you guys produced the album together. I mean, so I think there's 2 songs out now, At the Altar. Yeah. And then Because of You. Yeah. Because of You. Is there another song on the project that you're pumped about particularly?
There's so many songs I love on that. There's a song called I Love It Here that Rita, aforementioned Rita, the Queen.
Yes.
That Anna and Rita and the 3 of us wrote it together, and she sings on it as well.
I'm really excited about that song.
Cry. It's so good. There's so many songs on that album. That are great.
I can't wait. And then anything else like in the next little while or things you've been working on that you're excited about, or I don't know.
I'm trying to think. I just had a few songs. I had a song with Jesus Culture come out that I just love.
Yes. What's it called?
It's called Why Not Right Now. It's the name of the album, but it's
cool.
It's such a cool song. I love that.
Oh, that's so good. Who leads the song?
Brian and Katie.
Oh, that's the best. I love them. I love them so much.
Writing that song, the conversation of that day, it like transformed my life. So it has this like very special place in my heart. I love it.
That's really cool. Just for fun, like how long ago did you write that song with them?
That song I think was in August, so almost a year.
Almost a year ago,
Maybe September. Yeah.
It's cool. I think it's cool for people to hear that kind of stuff. Like, so now it's almost a year later, like that length of time that sometimes it takes for things to come around.
Most things, I feel like. A year is good, I think, sometimes. I had a song come out a few weeks ago that I wrote 4 years ago.
Oh. It just came around. Yes.
It's so wild. But
that's so good. One more person I want to ask you about just for fun, but Patrick Mabry.
Oh.
Tell people about him.
Mabry.
What you guys have been on the road a little bit, hey?
Yeah, he brought me out of drum retirement.
Okay, great. Love that.
Yeah, he's the one who really discovered that I played drums over here. We were writing one of our first songs together, I think. Mm-hmm. And he's like, and we would make the demos together. Yeah. And I'd be like, oh, let me just like, and just on the keyboard, like, I'll just do the drums real quick.
Yeah.
He's like, what do you mean real quick?
Yeah.
And I just went over and I was like, I know the kick pat. I know exactly what needs to happen here.
Yeah.
And he was like, what? How'd you do that? And I was like, I play drums.
I play a little drums.
I felt this like a confessional moment.
It's so good. He has a song, like, is it what's it called? Holy Spirit
Come.
Yeah.
That song, there's a song,
Yeah.
a more recent one, Easy to Praise, that is just absolutely
Cool.
magical.
Cool.
Yeah. His album comes out so soon too. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah. Also
Yeah.
amazing. Oh,
So many good
good
people.
things.
I know. Well, hey, thanks
the
so
best.
much for chatting with me on the podcast
Thanks
today,
for having
Bede.
me on Hello.
Hello with Hannah. Couldn't be happier to have Bede here today.
Thanks.
Amazing. And thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.